We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. A playground for some. For others, it's where they make their living. But the sea's unpredictable.
The sea is a scary place. It's an unforgiving place.
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of over 5,000 ordinary people, ready to leave their jobs, their families, and race to our rescue.
When that pager goes off, it's like that.
There they are! There they are!
You are somebody's last hope.
He's gone under!
I have never felt so much admiration. Marvel heroes don't come anywhere near.
Equipped with their own cameras.
Am I recording? Yep.
The crews give us a unique insight into every call-out, as only they see it.
I'm gonna get you home, all right?
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
There's no better feeling than knowing that you've brought someone's loved one home safely.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Hold on!
On the South Wales coast, overlooking the Bristol Channel, is the holiday resort of Porthcawl. Population 16,000, which more than doubles in the summer.
Porthcawl, or Costa del Porthcawl, is a typical seaside town. Really quite a fun, relaxed place to be. We've got boardwalks and a small harbour, beaches. It was built to ship coal from Wales, and then from there developed into a seaside town for the miners, where you'd get Miners' Week. You'd have thousands and thousands of miners come down from the valleys.
The fairground, Coney Beach, used to be very popular. Everyone from the mining villages would come down then to Porthcawl for a seaside holiday.
Though the miners with their buckets and spades are long gone, tourists continue to flock to Porthcawl in search of more modern leisure pursuits.
Surfing's massively popular around here. I think Coney Beach is the first surfable beach from London, so you get a lot of people visiting the area.
It does attract surfers from all over the world. However, with the big waves comes the rough weather.
The weather in Porthcawl can be really quite horrendous. The wind has travelled thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean into the Bristol Channel, and Porthcawl will be its first landfall. So you really do get the full force of Mother Nature.
As an insurance against this combination of tourists and extreme weather, there has been a lifeboat station in Porthcawl since 1860. It now averages around 100 launches a year.
We're quite a busy station. You have a lot of people that potentially don't know the coastline, don't know the waters, some in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you're not paying attention to the sea. It can be very cruel.
A crisp afternoon in early January.
I remember the weather being cold, almost like an eeriness to the weather. And the one thing that I can remember is the roar. And that roar was from the waves breaking against the shoreline. And I can distinctly remember looking and thinking, that's a big swell.
The sea has been stirred up by Storm Brendan, a deep, low-pressure system building out in the Atlantic, creating heavy seas and gusting winds of up to 100 miles an hour.
I just finished my shift in the hospital, come home from work. I was just about to make some food and my pagers went off. I went straight down to the station in my uniform.
As we were getting changed, the only information we got was that there was a surfer in difficulties off Monknash. Now, Monknash isn't the type of place that we commonly get tasked to. So there's a couple of red flags, knowing the size of the surf and given the location.
Hurry up, come on, let's go.
As the crew rushed to prepare their Atlantic 85 inshore lifeboat for launch, more information comes through revealing that the casualty, a teenage boy, has managed to make it to shore but is still in grave danger.
We knew that he was on a rock because there were people witnessing him and speaking to the Coast Guard.
Okay, water on, please.
But considering the swell was very big, we knew we needed to get there as quick as we could.
Let him go, guys.
When we launched, the thing that struck me was the surf and the swell rolling through were like buses.
Storm Brendan has set millions of tons of water in motion, rolling along as a swell until it reaches the coastal shallows.
You could see the size of the waves starting to build. I knew on the way that the conditions that we were going to be met with once at Monknash were going to be horrific.
It takes the crew almost 10 minutes to cover the 5 miles to Monknash, where the ocean is now pounding against the cliffs where the casualty was last seen.
As we rounded into Monknash, you really could appreciate the sheer size and scale of the waves.
Hold on, hold on.
These waves were a lot bigger than we expected. There was no routine to them. They were just coming in thick and fast.
Hold on.
The crew start to scour the cliffs for the casualty, whilst constantly turning away from shore and into the rolling waves to stop the boat from capsizing.
The size of the waves that day meant that the only way we could approach and hit them was head on.
Hold on.
We thought it would be a case of us having to go back and forth and doing the search pattern. And it wasn't until we went round one of the coves that we were able to spot him.
If you can imagine a mariner's hell, cliff face, rocks, walls of water, throwing tons and tons of water at the shoreline, and the casualty is sat in amongst it all.
I'm here for Coast Guard, Porthcawl lifeboat. We are on scene and we have a visual of that.
As the surf is considered too dangerous to risk going into shore and effect a rescue by boat, the crew decide to call in the Coast Guard helicopter.
Milfhaven Coast Guard, Porthcawl lifeboat. What's ETA of the helicopter, please?
I could see that the casualty was safe and well. He was on an outcrop of rocks, and we could afford to wait for a helicopter, which was going to be about 20-25 minutes.
The lifeboat crew try to get closer to the casualty to inform him of the plan, with the surf constantly threatening to swamp the boat.
And that's when it all changed. I'm not sure whether the casualty jumped in or got knocked in by a wave, but he was back in the water.
Right.
As soon as the casualty hit the water, I could see how small he was in relation to the sheer size and power of the waves that were hitting him. In that situation, there was no way the casualty would survive if we had to wait for a helicopter. I had a choice. I either put 3 crew members sitting behind me and myself in extreme risk, or we sit and watch a 17-year-old boy die. So I made the decision to try and effect the rescue.
Right. Right, now's our chance. Milfhaven Coast Guard, Porthcawl lifeboat. Yeah, Milford, on our arrival, the surf was committed back to the water. We are get ready with a throw line, guys, okay?
Moving closer to shore puts the boat directly in the surf line, where the huge Atlantic rollers become churning breakers.
We took one run in and realised that he was too shallow and we weren't going to be able to get to him. So I've had to bring the lifeboat back out through the surf.
Keep going, yeah?
We hit one wave, and the way the boat reacted, I knew that we were going to be operating in the absolute limits of what both we as the crew and the boat were capable of. And I also knew that there was no plan B.
Where is he? Where is he?
The sea is too shallow for the boat to get any closer, so the casualty must swim to them.
Quick as you can, buddy! Quick as you can!
But after spending the last 45 minutes clinging to the cliffs, swimming against the surf is a struggle.
Come on, mate! Come on, keep doing it, you all right?
Each stroke of his arm and each paddle that he made seemed to get him nowhere.
Right, grab hold of him, do not let him go. Do not let him go, okay?
I was facing the back of the boat, so I just remember bow rising and I was trying to grab him.
Come on, buddy, keep going, you're fine.
And then just as we were about to get a hold of him, a wave came and knocked him to the back of the boat.
Whoa.
The casualty did end up behind the boat, which means he's at close to being hit by the propellers.
Get away from there, get away from there.
If you find yourself anywhere near them, you'll quite literally get chopped up.
B immediately puts the engines in neutral to stop the propellers from spinning.
And that's when I looked round and saw the wall of water coming towards us.
Hold on! Hold on! Hold on! Hold on!
Managed to get my arms on him, and at that point then I wasn't letting him go.
Okay, get him inboard as quick as you can.
Thankfully that day, we had Ryan, who's got the strength of a bear.
Awesome job, guys, get him in, just get him in.
I managed to just throw him into the boat.
So I opened the engines up and just got us out of that danger area.
Don't hurt yourself.
So we've just been through a really, really hairy experience. And I look over my shoulder and there is this blonde bombshell of a guy with a massive smile on his face and an opening line of,
Sorry, you're there. Don't worry, it's fine.
and then his accent hit me. And I thought, well, he's not local.
Thank you so much. Where are you from, mate?
So I'm originally from New York, further out east on Long Island, on the coast.
Jack was in Wales to study, but as an experienced surfer, always kept an eye on the weather.
We were aware that there was going to be quite a swell hitting the coast. There was a spot that we never been to before, but we heard about. So we decided that this would be a good opportunity with this new swell coming to test out that spot.
Jack and his fellow surfer friends jumped on a bus, surfboards in hand, and headed down to Monknash.
When we actually got to the surf site, it was kind of like, it was almost like out of a movie. You just saw this wave, and our jaws dropped. It was such a beautiful wave just to look at. And then we got a bit closer and we realized how big it was, and we got even more excited.
We got in the water and we were surprised by the tide that we felt. Like it was really pulling. The second we were even knee deep, you could feel yourself in a situation. Maybe like 30 yards offshore, we felt the current pushing past the headland.
So I turned around and got out. And then I saw Jack getting swept across the headland.
I started paddling frantically to get back to shore at that point, and that's when I realized I was not able to. Current's far too strong for me, which was quite a scary thing. But I just gave in and got swept around the other side where there was a group of boulders that I was able to get on top of.
I kind of noticed that the tide was coming in quite quickly, and I decided that the best thing to do would be to call for help. So I called 999 and got the Coast Guard on the phone.
Theo up on the cliff signaled to me and was like giving me some type of signal, and I was like, okay, maybe there's a boat coming. All of a sudden, I see the orange RNLI boat sort of whip across the headland, and I was definitely relieved at that point. But I was really sort of on my last pieces of land there. The tide was starting to come up. I was sort of panicking. I didn't know really what the plan was. I thought I just had to get out to them, so I kind of dove right in. And I just started paddling and not even thinking at that point, really. It was just sort of get to the boat.
I was scared for Jack. And I think in my mind, I was starting to plan worst case scenario.
That probably felt like the longest paddle of my life. It was really just this unparalleled feeling. It was no other option than to get there, you know.
Come on, buddy, keep going, you're fine. Hold on!
Literally the second I get there, a wave hits the boat. And it was really like you're holding on for your life at that point, because I did not have enough energy to head back to the shore.
Okay, get him inboard as quick as you can.
The second I got on board, it was like, okay, we did it. We got there. It was just this huge relief.
Yeah! Woo! The relief that I got once Jack was on that boat, you know, it was ridiculous.
I think afterwards, once I caught my breath, it really occurred to me that, wow, this could have gone in a very different direction if it hadn't been for the responsibility of my friends and the amazing help from the RNLI.
You okay though, yeah? Not hurt in any way?
Jack was given a thorough medical assessment and was later reunited with his friends after receiving a clean bill of health.
I think in every lifeboatman's career, they have that one rescue that sticks out in their mind. And for me, this will be it. I hope, because I wouldn't want it to get any worse than that.
Well over 90% of the 9,000 rescues the RNLI carry out each year come under the heading Leisure Gone Wrong.
Did you hear that? 3 casualties!
And that number is increasing.
That's right, we've got hold of you.
For a leisurely day out at the seaside to go wrong is, yeah, quite easy. Anything could happen.
It can be a glorious, beautiful day. You know, you've had your ice cream, everything's going well, there's smiles, there's laughter, and one slight thing can go wrong, and it can go so quickly wrong.
No, that's right, mate.
It's an unpredictable beast, is the sea, and you know, when it's got a backup of the wind as well, people don't realise.
Work together. Okay, come on. All right.
Water sports gear is readily accessible now. Rather than going to a specialist, you can literally just pick it up off Amazon. Or, I mean, the mystery aisle in Aldi, you know, for your wetsuit.
Blow-up paddleboards and inflatable kayaks. We rescued a couple of them.
Do we judge, do we criticise what people have done? No.
There you come.
The most experienced get caught out, definitely. You know, the boat's come and got me myself.
The fact is we know how easy it is to be caught.
Have the crew reminded me about being rescued? Yes, of course they have.
Lying on the upper shore of the Firth of Forth is the historic fishing village of Anstruther.
The Anstruther area is surrounded by small villages all along the coastline, so it's not like your major cities. Everybody knows everybody. No matter what you do, somebody's going to know about it before you do. It's a fantastic stretch of coastline, but it can be very dangerous at the same time.
Anstruther lies right in the middle of the Fife coastal path, running for 116 miles between the Forth and Tay estuaries.
You have families doing it, you'll have your hikers doing it, tracks, young and old. A flat, calm summer's evening, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
There's always been a fishing community in Anstruther and the nearby villages for hundreds of years. Mainly prawns and lobsters and crabs.
Brothers Stuart and Ewan are continuing this local fishing tradition.
Some people say we look alike. I've never seen the similarities, but yeah, my mum would say we do.
I've never seen it.
They have also both adopted another local tradition.
I joined the lifeboat when I was 18. Stuart's probably joined maybe 3 years after me.
I followed my brother's footsteps throughout my whole life. My brother became a fisherman, I became a fisherman, my brother became part of the RNLI, and I became part of the RNLI.
There has been a lifeboat here since 1865, manned by generations of fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, and brothers like Ewan and Stuart.
Family life definitely comes first, but yeah, RNLI is a close second.
Early June, sunny skies, gentle breeze, low tide.
I was down in Pittenweem Harbour cleaning and painting my boat actually when the pager went off.
When we arrived at the station, we were told that it was a 20-year-old male. broken ankle on the chain walk.
The Ely chain walk is part of a cliff formation, and it has chain links embedded into the rock face to help people go along the Fife coastal path.
The chain walk is 8 miles upriver from the lifeboat station. The D-class inshore lifeboat launches and heads there at speed.
The weather was really good that day. Not a lot of wind, normal sort of conditions for tourists or people to be on the chain walk.
It takes the inshore boat almost 20 minutes to reach location, where they spot a group of onlookers waving to attract their attention.
Once we'd approached, we still couldn't see him, and we just kind of had to go in.
The D-class can always get into most small crevices.
Or if it's easier for you, the side will be fine.
Myself and Stuart scrambled up the rocks and then stuck my head over the top.
How you doing?
And then just saw Jordan and just kind of laughed. We just, like, you didn't expect it to be somebody you knew.
Oh, it's you, all right, man?
Yeah, how you doing?
Look at that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a helicopter en route.
Oh, not a fucking chance.
But I think it's on standby.
I know Jordan personally from the harbour. He's a fisherman.
So it's just your, what ankle there?
What ankle?
No, but is it just one or two?
No, just the one.
Whenever I see Jordan, he's got a smile on his face. Having a severe broken ankle made no difference to that. Still had a smile on his face.
Are you feeling lightheaded or anything, Jordan? You okay?
No, I just can't stop laughing.
Earlier, Jordan's friends had been posting videos of themselves jumping into the sea off the chain walk, so he decided to go and join them.
I spoke to my friends, then I looked down at the bit where they'd all been jumping, and I was like a kid in a candy shop, all excited, so I just jumped.
I've got weak ankles anyway, but I've never done this before.
That's the bit that annoyed me the most. My first jump of the day, I broke my ankle.
Oh, just jump right off where we are right now.
I believe the jump must have been about 5 metres, so it was a fair jump.
Don't worry, we'll get the bag.
I hit the water and hit the ground, and I physically felt the bone moving about and popping, and it was just all mashed to bits.
It turns out the videos Jordan had seen online had been taken when the tide was still high. By the time he got there a few hours later, it was much lower.
I jumped in. I should know this, I'm a fisherman, it was low water. I jumped in and just smashed it to bits instantly.
A fisherman that doesn't know low water, I'll never live that one down.
We'll get you some oxygen in a second, okay?
No, you don't have to get me an oxygen, you're all right, man.
I offered Jordan oxygen and offered Jordan Entonox, and he did not want any.
I'm all good boys today, unless the oxygen's fun. If it's not, then nah, forget about it.
They kept trying to pump me full of the gas and air, so they must have been thinking the pain he's in. I refused to take any of it.
At one point, I asked, could he move? Meaning, has he got any feeling?
Well, definitely.
No,
I can't put weight on it.
Right, that's fine, just...
He jumped up on his other leg and started hopping around. His injury was pretty bad. Our main concern is getting him out as quickly and safely as possible.
Well, if you just sit back down.
I think Jordan was in a bit of shock. I think it's probably quite difficult to tell with Jordan. He's always quite lively and happy.
Despite Jordan's upbeat demeanour, his injury is severe, and his location on the rocks makes it impossible to evacuate him by land. The easiest and quickest option is to carry him to the lifeboat and extract him by sea, so the crew stand down the helicopter and attempt to convince Jordan to get into a stretcher.
A stretcher? I don't want to go on a stretcher.
His injury was pretty bad. Our main concern is getting him out as quickly and safely as possible, so the paramedics can take over.
The crew are joined by a Coast Guard team who reiterate the need to carry Jordan out of here.
Getting Jordan from the elevated position he was in to the ILB caused actually a bit of a concern to get him done safely.
I don't want a stretcher, boys. I'm able. I'm healthy enough to get on the boat.
I said, I do not want to be on a stretcher. I'll hop if I've got to.
Could I not just bum shuffle down and jump on the rib?
Honestly, you cause yourself more damage. Let the boys strap your leg up.
I strap my leg up, that's fine.
After much persuasion, the crew finally managed to convince Jordan to get into the stretcher and start strapping him in, ready to carry him down to the waiting lifeboat.
How you doing, Jordan? You right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just embarrassed.
We put them in frac straps so as to not cause any future damage.
Yeah, looks on me, nice.
How's that feeling, Jordan?
Oh, good boys, isn't it? Oh.
Once Jordan is safely strapped in, they have to carefully carry him 50 metres to the waiting boat.
On 3 on my count. 1, 2, 3, left.
You're walking on difficult terrain. Members of the stretcher team, they can slip, fall, so that aspect of transporting Jordan can be quite risky.
Watch, there's a couple of loose stones here. Yeah.
You feel so helpless being stuck in a stretcher, you know, and you're just so embarrassed that all these people are having to help you and lift, you know, carry you to safety. I felt like a damsel in distress.
Like a chopper would have been easy.
There's probably at one point like 16 or 18 people around me, you know what I mean? And I was mortified. But yeah, I want to say to the lifeboat crew, I'm sorry I wasted your time. I don't actually know where I'd be without you right now.
Yep. It took about 30 minutes to get Jordan from where he was to the ILB. It was a roasting day, you're knackered, you're sweltering, and you've got a casualty in a stretcher, and you're trying to slide him down an embankment, as well as trying to avoid any possible distress to Jordan.
The Coast Guard used one of their ropes tied to the top of the stretcher, and we just had to slide him down.
I'll make sure I jump off here and do that.
I was worried with the possible broken ankle, because anything that we do during that rescue could have a massive effect to Jordan's life.
Okay, good job, everybody.
Any jolt to that leg could cause possible damage. Even getting him on the boat, that can be quite risky.
Once Jordan was onto the ILB, slowly made our way towards Ely Harbour.
You still feeling good? We can slow down.
Once on the rib, that was really fun. I was trying to get him to gee at full beans, but he wouldn't. So there was a few times of it hitting against waves where they were saying, "Are you okay, you okay?" It was just discomforting, you know, and I wasn't going to say, "Oh, I'm in a lot of pain," because that would probably complicate their job, and it was my own doing, so I was quite happy to sit in pain. That's what I deserve.
Is that Sky News?
Once we'd arrived, we'd met another Coast Guard team who were kitted in dry suits who met us down the beach, and we just lifted Jordan off.
Jordan is taken to Kirkcaldy Victoria Hospital, where an X-ray later confirms that he's fractured his tibia and requires surgery to pin it back together.
I would say Jordan was extremely lucky. Different circumstances, he could have dived in head first and he might not even been here today. But yeah, extremely lucky that it was just an ankle break.
I could have been a lot worse. The doctor told me the shock could have travelled up my spine, paralysed me, stuff like that. You know, so when you look at it like that, I got off easy.
On the south coast of England, reaching far out into the Channel, is the headland known as Selsey Bill.
Selsey Bill protrudes out from the mainland, but the bill itself, yeah, it's one of the most southerly points in the UK.
I don't know what the technical definition of a bill is, other than it's something that sticks out to sea, I think.
We've got beaches on almost 3 sides of us. The beaches around here, absolutely fantastic.
In the height of summer, we have beautiful, warm, sunny water, and it's a lovely place to bring your family and holiday.
The coastline around Selsey, it's typical south coast coastline. It tends to be quite shallow for quite a while offshore, and the shingle banks and rocky reefs around the coast do create a lot of channels which focus some of the water, so you get some very fast running water not far offshore.
Mid-September, a sunny but cold Sunday afternoon, tide on the rise.
My dad had his new hot tub in his garden. I was just about to go and have a dip in the hot tub down at my parents' as the pager went off.
A call has come in reporting multiple people stranded on Kirk Arrow.
Kirk Arrow, it's a really large shingle sandbank which sits about 150 metres off the beach.
but it floods very quickly, so as the tide rises, that bank becomes covered by the incoming tide. Normally, the crew would turn up and then we'd select the crew that go. But on this occasion, it was what's classed as an immediate launch, which is where you pick whoever turns up first, because there is a desperate need to get that boat in the water as quickly as possible. Normally means someone's life is in serious danger.
Solent Coast Guard, Solent Coast Guard.
We knew the tide was rising, so it was quite urgent we got there to prevent them trying to do something that might put themselves in more danger.
As soon as I was dressed, we were off out the door and hitting the water.
What's the crew number?
Less than 10 minutes after the pagers sounded, the crew are on board their D-class inshore lifeboat and heading at full speed to Kirk Arrow, which is due to disappear beneath the rising tide within 15 minutes.
The biggest concern with Kirk Arrow is how quickly that sandbank becomes covered.
You've only got a small window. The shingle bank itself will get covered up pretty sharpish.
Solent Coast Guard, Selsey RB, standing by 0.
We knew very limited information, but the information from the Coast Guard quickly started coming through.
We have numerous 909 calls reporting children.
There's always a change in emotions when you hear children involved. The biggest concern when children stranded on Kirk Arrow is you don't want them to try to make it back.
Between Kirk Arrow and the rest of the beach, there's a deep gully and the tide can run around 5-6 knots through there. And it's basically trying to swim across a river and you just go get swept either way by the tide.
And, you know, little people get carried by water quicker than bigger people do.
As the crew race to location, a new report comes over the radio about a second casualty.
On a paddleboard being dragged out to sea. It will be the gentleman on a paddleboard with the children on the sandbank, and he's desperately trying to get to the children. Over.
Within minutes, the crew have gone from a straightforward call-out to a multiple casualty, multiple location rescue involving children. And it's no longer the kids who are the priority.
You don't get more urgent than someone in the water. That person in the water has nothing apart from what they're clinging onto. They're constantly being dragged out by the tide. And the further away they get pushed from land, the harder they become to find.
As that message came through, crew got their heads up and spotted him almost immediately.
Paddleboard there, Sam! He's being dragged out trying to get to them!
At that point, you could see he was struggling in the water, but the board was sinking.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
It was clear that he was in trouble. He was just unable to paddle it anymore, and he was being taken further and further away.
We'll get you on.
He'd been trying to fight the tide, and you could see he was physically exhausted.
1, 2, 3.
He looked tired, he looked like he was worn out.
What we'll do, leave his board here, and then we'll go out to the kids.
I said to him that we'd go pick up the kids, and at that point he actually said to me that they were his children.
The current was so strong, I realised I wasn't getting any closer to the children, and I remember just panicking.
I've recovered the casualty from the water that was with the paddleboard.
I was aware that the tide was rising, and I was just worried what was going through their minds.
He did look shaken up, and I think understandably. Being taken out to sea would be stressful enough, but to have the added concern that you're being taken further away from your children who you're already very anxious and worried about, yeah, I think I would shake anybody up.
I definitely felt afraid. The main thing I was focused on was, are the kids going to be safe?
The crew established that Russell does not require medical attention as they head to his 2 children and a group of teenagers who have swum out to help on the rapidly dwindling sandbank.
As we approached, we saw 6 people, 2 young children, a boy and a girl, 3 males and a female.
Solent Coast Guard Selsey RB, we are just getting to the casualties now, over.
The children were little, and it was definitely a shock to see children of that age in a position where they're in such danger. We jumped out and immediately reunited them with their father.
As soon as I saw him, I was the happiest I've ever been. It's just so scared. I thought I'd never see him again.
Right, who's going to tell us their name and age? You go first.
She's a bit shy.
Is she? That's all right. 6 years old, you look about 10.
And how old are you, sir?
Katie?
8.
And what's your name?
Freddie.
Freddie.
It was very emotional, but quite overwhelming. Just that feeling of all being back together again and knowing that it's over, you know, we're going to be safe. We're going to be okay now.
Freddie and Katie had set out earlier that day for an afternoon of paddleboarding with their dad and cousin Hannah.
When we were on the beach, we decided to head over to Kirk Arrow, and our plan was to just go and play for a bit on what essentially would be our private island.
They paddled out on 2 boards, but as Russell reached the sandbank, he realised Hannah was struggling with hers and went back to help.
They swapped boards, so my cousin could get back to the shore, but my dad was getting pulled away by the current.
I was paddling, and I was thinking, hang on a minute, the kids are getting further away from me, and I think it was at that point I knew we were in trouble. I also knew that the tide was rising, and in about 15-20 minutes there's not going to be an island there anymore.
I feel the island was shrinking quite fast, and I started to get a bit scared of the sea.
But I could just see the 2 of them, the silhouettes, just both standing, staring at me. I think what really upset me was what was going through their minds at the time, seeing their dad being, you know, dragged out to sea. I had my phone with me in a dry bag, and I still don't know how I managed to do it, but I managed to call the Selsey Coast Guard.
Coast Guard Rescue.
I'm investigating, my kids are on the island.
Can you slow down and say again?
Selsey Bill.
Yeah.
Emergency.
Do you have life jackets on?
The children do, I don't. My paddleboard's sinking, please come soon.
Are you holding on to anything?
I am just about clinging on.
While Russell was calling 999, Hannah made it back to shore where the group of teenagers had spotted the drama unfolding out on the sandbank.
One of the people I was with said, guys, are you seeing this? And we all sort of said, yeah. Well, they look a bit, I don't know, alone. There's no one with them. The beach was about 400, 500 metres away, which is 8 lengths of an Olympic-sized 50-metre pool. So, you know, asking a very young child to do that in the sea with strong currents, and it's just near impossible.
As the kids couldn't swim to shore, Fergus and his friends decided to go to them instead and stayed with them on the shrinking sandbank until the lifeboat arrived.
Solent Coast Guard Selsey RB, we are just getting to the casualties now, over.
Without the group of young people that had gone to assist, this could have turned out very different.
How did you guys get out?
Oh, we swam.
You've all swum out, okay.
I just felt so glad they were here. Whenever they said really nice things like, your dad will be safe and don't worry, I got less scared.
Yeah, so we'll land these guys on the beach, and then we'll come back and get you guys, all right? And then we'll shuttle you to the beach with your gear and all the rest of it, and then we'll go find...
Ready for a boat ride, Katie?
Once the lifeboat came, it was just really fast getting back to the beach, and I was so happy, and all the way back I was cuddling my dad.
My son was really upset, and he did say to me, "Dad, I thought I was going to lose you." For an 8-year-old boy to come out and say, "I thought you were going to die," it makes me never to want to put him in that position again.
Right, do you want to jump out or do you want to be carried? What do you want to do?
Freddie's keen, look, he's out.
It's a really powerful feeling, reuniting any family member with a loved one, but particularly children. As a parent myself, to know that I've been able to help get those children back to their dad and that everyone is safe and no one's hurt, it's a really powerful feeling that stays with you as well.
That's the 2 children and their father in the care of the Selsey CRT team.
It's definitely gone down as a life saved. Had the people not been there to help, had the father drifted further away and had we not seen him, it could have been a completely different scenario. We could have been recovering a body, we could have been looking for 3 people in the water. There are so many different ways that call could have turned out had we not have got there as quickly as we did.
We'd gathered ourselves together, and then we were due to go back to my mum's to have tea, and then obviously had to tell my mum what had happened, who, at 46 years old, I got a good telling off from my mum.
After the call, went back to the station and washed down the boat, and I was able to go home and enjoy the hot tub that I had been longing to get in all day.
A 140 miles northwest of Selsey, tucked deep in the narrows of the Severn estuary, is the historic coastal town of Portishead.
Portishead sits at the top of the Bristol Channel, just by the entrance to the River Avon, which will then lead into Bristol.
A lot of people in Portishead just see it as something with a nice marina and quick route into Bristol. But it's actually on the edge of a shipping lane, where ships coming into Avonmouth, bringing in all sorts of different cargo. It's also a town that's steeped in naval history.
Portishead was home to the National Nautical School, created in 1869 to train up the destitute and neglected boys of Bristol to serve in what at the time was the largest navy in the world. This was also once the gateway to America.
It was a stopping off point in the old days for transatlantic crossings.
The SS Great Britain used to anchor off of Portishead, and passengers used to go off and on, literally from where our lifeboat station is today.
The latest purpose-built station was opened in 2015 in Portishead Marina, home to the leisure craft that feature in many of the lifeboat shouts. More recently, however, a new pastime is keeping them busy.
The popularity of cold water swimming has shot up around our waters. Over the last 20 years, I can think of 2 people that we've had to save. Through lockdown, over a 9-month period, we've had to rescue 5 people.
Over 4 million people nationally now regularly swim in open water, a number that's set to continue rising.
The sea temperature around these parts can range anywhere from 15 degrees in the summer down to probably 5 degrees in the winter. It's a real dangerous place to be in the water.
In the Bristol Channel, we also have really strong tides. And even for the most experienced open water swimmer, it can catch you off guard.
We got nearly 15 metres of tidal rise and fall, nearly 50 foot. Obviously, to get that amount of water in and out in 12 hours is an awful lot of flow. I've been lifeboating on the Bristol Channel for 13 years. It even frightens me now, you know.
Early December, flat calm with the tide on the turn.
It was a typical December day, cold. I just finished a works call and the pages went off.
As we came through the door, the first thing mentioned it was a person in the water. And that's the alarm bell for a lifeboat crew, really, because that's about as bad as it gets.
You get the crew picked and go.
Milford Coast Guard, this is Portishead lifeboat. Yeah, is there updated location for this casualty, over?
The call has come from Clevedon, a pretty Victorian coastal town 6 miles down the channel from the lifeboat station.
When we got the boat going, we were able to dump the ballast tank, trim the engine slightly, and the boat was going down at 35 knots over the ground. We couldn't have gone any faster than that.
Milford Coast Guard, Portishead lifeboat, Portishead lifeboat.
As the crew head to location, more information comes over the radio, revealing that the casualty is a woman alone, wearing nothing more than a regular bathing suit.
The water temperature at that time was probably only around 10 degrees.
I think the rule of thumb I've heard is that when you're going swimming, it's 1 minute for every degree. But if you're in a swimming costume and it's cold, you go hypothermic, you start losing control of your limbs and your muscles. So you're in serious danger of drowning.
Even travelling at flank speed, it takes the crew 10 minutes to reach location.
As we approached Clevedon Pier, we were all trying to see if we could see the swimmer. And then I looked to the left and saw the arch of the swimmer.
Yeah, boy, just there, left-hand side there, mate.
Just turned the boat straight forward.
Right, got it on the boat now.
The casualty was swimming, doing front crawl, but not really making any headway.
The tide had got her. She was never going to beat the tide.
I don't think she'd worked out how much danger she was in. If she had, she would have swum probably more perpendicular to the shore and gone into the shore, but she didn't.
I suspect she wasn't thinking straight because she would have been very, very cold. I asked Gareth to go up the front and ask if she needed help.
You okay?
And then she said, "No, I'm really cold." And in a really nice way, he said, "Come on then, let's get you on board."
Sorry. No, don't come, Troy. All right.
When I was speaking to her, it was repeated apologies. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, which isn't normal. It's not normal at all, and that raised our awareness that something was wrong.
Sorry. No, please don't apologise.
Right, okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to lift you up into the boat.
Okay.
Okay, but if you can help us and just try and grab hold of anything you can once we lift you up, okay?
So grab handle just here, my
Right, you are cold, aren't you?
All right.
She was very cold to touch. I don't think I've ever touched anybody as cold.
That's it, just keep your legs right towards me. There we go.
We lifted her onto the boat and immediately you knew that she wasn't well.
We'll wrap you up, all right?
Very good.
Can you look at me? How long have you been in the water, No, don't know.
Her speech was quite slurred. We wrapped her up in a blanket very quickly, and then I started to run through the medical assessment process.
And apart from your cold, no, don't be embarrassed.
That's all right. There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
It was very quick to determine that the lady had hypothermia. She had very pale, cold skin. She was slightly drowsy, very tired.
I don't know what happened then.
Hypothermia is a medical emergency, there's no doubt. It can lead to cardiac arrest.
What medication are you on?
I was really aware that this takes a fair amount of time to reverse hypothermia, and the quicker we can start the reversal, the better. You know, she was still going to be potentially fighting for her life, so it was every second counts.
The helm immediately arranges a rendezvous point with the inbound ambulance, while the rest of the crew work hard to keep the casualty alert.
The Coast Guard. Oh, lifeboat, but very similar. We're better looking.
I kept talking to her. Mike kept doing his assessment. It was just all about maintaining her level of consciousness till we could hand her over.
The lifeboat pulls onto the slipway, where the Coast Guard and paramedics are already waiting with a stretcher.
Anish, we'll just take this wet blanket off you, my love, and then put that coat on, okay?
There we go. That's it, just lift your arm up.
We then had to think about how we take the casualty off the lifeboat safely onto the stretcher.
Can you just tell me how you're feeling? How are you feeling? The lady was closing down. You know, she wants to stay wrapped up in a ball. She doesn't want to walk, and her body's telling her to screw herself up into a ball. So it was very route one. It was very grab hold of her and just pulled her straight on top of the stretcher with a paramedic. It was about getting her away. That was the priority. We've all got girlfriends, daughters, wives, mothers, and I had real concerns for her. She was in serious trouble.
Do they know her, this lot up here, do you think?
I went and had a chat to the local swimming group who turned out to be the ones who actually called the job in.
Do you guys know her? Yes. Right, can you take her stuff?
They were quite upset. But when they told me how long she'd been in there, I was amazed.
It turns out that by the time the swimmer was rescued, she had been in the icy waters of the Bristol Channel for an hour and 20 minutes.
Mike and Ian then said an hour and 20, and I was utterly shocked.
Yeah, you're probably at your limit. And by the time I got up there, she'd gone downhill rapidly.
You know where you are, Kate? No?
A few more minutes, that lady would have probably stopped swimming. Her brain was definitely closing down. I don't think we had much more time.
All right, mate, like hand over?
Yeah.
Yeah, like tidy.
The casualty is rushed to Weston-super-Mare General Hospital to be treated for severe hypothermia.
Right, okay, let's go.
So I think when we were walking back, myself and Mike both looked at each other, and we both knew that if it would have been much longer, the outcome might have been completely different.
She was cold.
Yeah, she was, mate.
I believe when she arrived in hospital, they undertook a process of rewarming. That's done very slowly.
Come on, you two, talking about.
I think she stayed in hospital for that night, but was released the next day.
Watch that boy off to your right, mate. Okay, done. Yeah, I got it under my feet, mate.
After a shout like that, it is a good feeling. It's it's what we train to do. So to be able to do it, yeah, there was a good buzz, good atmosphere on the boat on the return journey.
When we save people, the RNLI occasionally will describe them as life saved. It doesn't happen often, and she was one of them.
Head launcher, lifeboat.
In George's 17 years on lifeboats, this is the 4th life he's saved, and most likely it will also be his last.
In a couple of months' time, I have to step down as seagoing crew and become shore crew, because when you reach the age of 55, you have to step down from going afloat.
Go on, you want to say it? Oh, I'd love it if you would have cocked that up, especially with me wearing the helmet.
The bond within the crew, this is some of my best friends I've had in my life. I've had some of my best laughs, I've had some of my saddest moments, I've had some of my proudest moments.
Pull the lines, please, chaps.
So I'm going to be miserable for the next 3 months. And every time that pager goes off, I'm going to want them to send me out.
Well done.
I'm still going to be turning up when I step off the boat to annoy everybody. I'm going to be shore crew. I'm going to be driving the tractor. I'm going to remain as a duty launch authority. I'm going to be there with my mates, being the grumpy older guy, looking at them when they come back.
Six months after being rescued, Russell and his son Freddie are still coming to terms with their near-death experience in Selsey.
We went back out on the paddle boards, but not on the sea this time. We headed down to a local spot by the river and spent the afternoon in the water on the boards. I think that was probably more for me than the kids. I knew I had to get back on the boards.
I had been really spooked about paddleboarding, but when we went paddleboarding in the river, love paddleboarding again.
You can't let things stop you doing things you love, but I will be just making sure that they're a little bit closer to me so I can't lose them.
And though Jack is now back home in New York, he is still connected to Wales by the same vast ocean.
Surfing's still a great joy in my life. It'll continue to be a great joy for the rest of my life. And yeah, when a situation like that occurs, it doesn't necessarily weaken, I don't think, your relationship with the sport. If anything, it sort of makes it stronger and you feel like you're more of a part of it. But I couldn't thank the RNLI more for what they do and how well-trained they are, and the risk they put themselves at for other people who also have, a love of the ocean.
It was a really bad place to be. It's the sort of place that will drown you quite quickly.
He's literally come from up there.
The initial thought is it's going to be catastrophic injuries.